Hey, greetings, everyone. Lieutenant Colonel Alan West, Senior Fellow at the Media Research Center. There are two dates that I think are very important to all Americans, two dates that have a very special meaning for me and my family. December the 7th, 1941, and September the 11th of 2001. When I think about December the 7th of 1941, I think about my father, Herman West Sr., who ended up being a corporal in the United States Army who served there in the European Theater of Operations. But it was my dad who, well, he told me the story about how he was sitting there listening to the radio and hearing about the reports of the bombing at the United States Naval Base, the headquarters of the Pacific Fleet, Pearl Harbor. See, Dad had been keeping up with what was going on in the world starting in 1939 with the moves and the invasions of Nazi Germany and also the invasions of Imperial Japanese military all across Asia. And I wonder if my dad thought that at some point in time that his time would come. Dad was born in 1920. So when he was sitting there and listening to the radio station, he was a young man of 21 down in South Georgia. But his time came. His time came to answer the call of duty, the call of service to the United States of America because his country had been attacked. And many young men answered that call. Think about living here in Texas, how a young man by the name of Audie Murphy became the most decorated soldier in World War II. My father started out down in North Africa and completed those operations there, and then he went over and through Sicily and then in mainland Italy. He was wounded while running supply dispatches on a motorcycle there in the Central Po Valley of Italy. How interesting that his son would later on in 1984 find himself not too far away from the place where his dad was wounded for his first duty assignment as a young paratrooper. But at the age of 15, my dad sat me down on the steps of 651 Kennesaw Avenue in Atlanta, Georgia, the old Fourth Ward neighborhood, and he challenged me to be the first officer in our family. See, my older brother, Herman West Jr., had served as a Lance Corporal in the United States Marine Corps, an infantryman in Vietnam. See, the difference was that our homeland had been attacked. My dad answered that call of service, but my older brother answered the call of service to go and protect and defend the freedoms and liberties of others. And so it would be in my military career as a young captain, I would be answering that call to go out and serve those others for their liberties and freedoms in Operation Desert Shield, Desert Storm in the 1st Infantry Division. But September the 11th of 2001, a day that I won't forget because I was a young lieutenant colonel at Camp Lejeune, North Carolina. We had just finished our physical training and we were getting cleaned up and getting ready to start another duty day. I was dressing in my office when all of a sudden a phone call came, and we all rushed down to the 2nd Marine Expeditionary Force Operations Center. We walked in just in time to see the second plane hit Tower 2. And it was not too long later that we learned that there was another airplane that struck the United States Pentagon. And at that time, I didn't realize it, but a very close and dear friend of mine, who is now a state senator here in Texas, Brian Birdwell, was wounded there. Many different surgeries because of the burns over most of his body, but he survived. And later on, I would come to learn that our initial response to a 9/11, a 12-man Special Forces team, was led by one of our former cadets when I was an instructor at Kansas State University. He was written about in the book, Horse Soldiers. He was depicted and portrayed in the movie 12 Strong. But my answer to the call of service for September 11, 2001 came in 2003 in Iraq. And then later on, I deployed to Afghanistan for 2.5 years as a civilian military advisor to the Afghan National Army. I also ended up serving in the United States House of Representatives. And so for me, to hear a member of the United States House of Representatives refer to our modern day Pearl Harbor, 9/11, as an incident where some people did something is quite disgusting. It's quite despicable. And those who are trying to defend that statement and those comments, well, I find them utterly, well, not just ignorant, but in a way further despicable. Because that was a day that we will never forget. That was a day when some Americans chose to throw themselves from buildings at high altitudes instead of being burned to death. That is a day when almost 3,000 Americans lost their lives. That was a day when loved ones would never see family members again. That was a day that even still to this day, we have people that are losing their lives because of the illnesses they received when the debris from those falling towers. That is a day that we remember with, well, someone saying, let's roll. That prevented one of those aircraft from flying into maybe the United States Capitol, where said member, Ilhan Omar, is supposedly a United States representative. See, I don't think that this is something we just brush aside. I think that there are consequences to the statements that some people make. I don't think that anyone should be the target of death threats, but I think that the seriousness of what Representative Ilhan Omar needs to be understood by herself and by those that are trying to defend her. We all know who did what they did on September 11th of 2001. They were militant Islamic jihadists, terrorists, under the banner of Al-Qaeda, led by Osama bin Laden. We're still fighting Islamic jihadism today. And for a United States representative to stand before a group, the Council for American Islamic Relations, CARE, that is an unindicted co-conspirator in the largest Islamic terrorist funding case, the Holy Land trial case, in our history. An organization, CARE, that is tied to the Muslim Brotherhood and Hamas. And for a United States representative to dismiss, to denigrate, to disrespect September 11th of 2001 and all of those Americans who lost their lives and their loved ones who try to continue on today by just saying,
they recognize that some people did something?
No, Representative Omar, this is not something that we should just forget. This is not something that we should just not cast aside. This is a very special day to Americans. And I think that what you need to do is take time and understand that you live in this incredible country. And a national apology is due, not just to those victims, not just to those who carry on the memory of their loved ones, but to all of us here in the United States of America. If you don't think that you should be giving a national apology, then I think you should step down from being a member of the United States House of Representatives. At the least, you should not be on the House Foreign Affairs Committee. And I say this having been someone that has been on the battlefields fighting militant Islamic jihadists and terrorists, and also someone who served in the United States House of Representatives. That's a very special honor, a very special privilege that not too many Americans get to have. But if you cannot understand the incredible responsibility, the honor of carrying that title, United States Representative, Congressman, Congresswoman, then I don't know if you're deserving to be in that position. December the 7th of 1941, my dad answered the call of duty, the call of service to his nation. September the 11th, 2001, his second son did the exact same thing. And guess what? Herman West Sr.'s grandson, Major Herman Bernard West III, well, he continues on, serving in the United States Army right now, with 2 tours of duty in Afghanistan and another one in the Middle East. Those dates have a very special importance to the West family and to all Americans. And Representative Ilhan Omar, the question now is, what is the significance of September 11th, 2001 to you?